the Faculty of Agriculture.
Following the protocols already established, I'd like to say thank you to God Almighty for this opportunity to be alive to see this wonderful day in my life. I sincerely wish to thank Professor Tanko Ishaya, ably represented the Vice-Chancellor, University of Jos, for this great honor. I consider it a great privilege, and I feel honored that you all have been able to make this inaugural lecture despite your very tight schedule. I see this as a huge sacrifice, and I do not take it for granted at all. Before I go into the inaugural lecture proper, permit me to say a very short story of my life that I know will be helpful to all of us, especially our youth, the young ones, the students. The person standing before you was a very playful pupil in the primary school and also in the secondary school. That led to me repeating primary 3. I actually repeated primary 3, and I was going to repeat SS2 too because of the nature of not taking my academics seriously. And I was promoted on trial from SS2 to SS3. So, but knowing fully well that for my dad, promotion on trial was equal to repeat, and I didn't want to repeat again. I did something they call smart. Don't blame me for what I did then. I stopped over in a friend's house, and that time correcting fluid was not common. So I had to use the white toothpaste to clean the on trial. And that was how I took the result home. But my dad, very smart, looked at my average and said, with this weak average, they still promoted you? I said, that's the way I also saw it. And that was how God was merciful to me. I moved from SS2 to SS3. It was in SS3 that I met Mrs. Umba, our agri teacher, who encouraged us. She said we should work now and play later. That I wrote on my 80 leaves notebook, notebook. And that helped me in my SS3 and also in my university days. I remember in 100 level, I came to know God through NIFES, gave my life to Christ. And one major thing God did for me was to change my friends, the kind of friends I had, to more serious-minded friends. And one of them was Adiola. He's now an associate professor at the Federal University, Dusima. So there was a semester Adiola made 4.95 over 5. So I really had to ask him, how did you do this? And he was humble enough to, he opened up to me and gave me some practical tips that helped me. So that was how an average pupil in primary school and average secondary school student became the best graduating student in the Department of Animal Production and the second best in the Faculty of Agri. Those same principles helped me while in UNN. I had my MSc within 18 months and my PhD at University of Agri within 3 sessions. I'm saying this because if I depended on my background, or if I had looked at my background, there's no way I would have been here today. So this, like I said, is to encourage all of us, but especially the youth, that you can make it. So that's the outline of presentation. I'll try and be fast so that I don't spend too much time. Again, the title is Turning Fragments into Gold, the Nigerian Circular Economic Engine and the Alchemy of Waste to Feed. What are fragments? In the context of this lecture, fragments are waste from crop residues, such as the stovers from maize, soya beans, sorghum, rice, and so on and so forth. And industrial byproducts, such as brewers' spent grain, palm kernel cake, wheat offal, and so on. And animal/abattoir waste, such as animal blood, not human blood, animal blood, rumen content, bone waste, and so on and so forth. So that's what the fragment refers to. It refers to waste in simple terms. It is estimated that Nigeria produces over 50 million tons of crop residues annually. And of course, most of these residue are being left to waste and cause environmental pollution. Gold, in the context of this lecture, refers to transformation of worthless waste into high valuable rich nutrients. So that's what gold refers to in this lecture. It's not the gold that we know. So we can have nutritional gold, for example, when these wastes are fed to animals, and these animals produce protein, energy, and so on for our consumption. So that's nutritional gold. And we can get environmental gold when we harness this waste and utilize for animals and then reduce the carbon footprint. So that equals to the environmental to green gold. And economic gold, when we are able to include the harnessed waste into animal feed. So in each of the waste lies protein. In each of the waste lies carbohydrates, lipids, minerals, vitamins, and other nutrients which await recovery. Circular economy simply refers to a system where materials that should have been wasted end up not being wasted. They never go wasted. So it believes, it's the principle of recycling and reuse and so on and so forth. So circular economy stands on three solid pillars, which include the elimination of waste and environmental pollution, circulation of products and materials, and regeneration of nature. So in economic terms, circular economy ensures that value addition replaces value destruction. Circular economy in animal feeding simply refers to the application of the principles of circular economy in the feeding system. And good enough, the way God created the animals, they are naturally recyclers. For example, if you give maize cob is very low in protein, less than maybe 5%. But if you give that same maize cob that is a waste to a goat or a sheep or a cattle, because of the micronutrients in their, microorganisms in their rumen, they are able to upgrade it to what we call microbial protein. So they are already recycle this waste. Poultry and pigs convert agro-industrial byproducts into meat and egg. Fish converts organic waste into biomass. So nature already operates circularly. Our challenge is to align industrial practice with biological intelligence. Alchemy of waste to feed. This does not refer to the conversion of lead to gold. It involves the turning of fragments that I earlier mentioned to nutritional gold, environmental gold, and economic gold. Currently, Nigeria is, a little above 200 million in population, and it has been projected that by 2050, this might double. So this is a very serious challenge. Estimates by key stakeholders indicate that between 30% and 50% of agricultural output is lost or wasted post-harvest every year. So we produce very large, but we still don't have enough. We produce very large, or large produce comes out of the farm, but we still don't have enough to eat. So that's the challenge. And this feed stuff or the waste actually have some problems, or the utilization of this waste. The major one is the way as individuals, as organizations, as establishments, the way we, how do I put it now? We run away from the use, or we shy away, or we do not want to harness this waste and utilized as animal feed. So the culture of maintenance, reuse, and recycling essential for extending the life cycle of produce is notably absent from our systemic framework. So you just prefer pour this thing away and that's the end of it. According to Ayuade 2010, my PhD supervisor of blessed memory, may his soul rest in peace, the following challenges hinder the use of waste: data efficiency, anti-nutritional factors, uncoordinated dissemination, systemic inefficiencies, fragmented production, technological deficits, nutritional limitation, extension gaps, and the labor dilemma. I'm not going to be going into details. Details are in the inaugural lecture booklet because of time. So you see that we produce a lot, but we still grapple with the debilitating food security crisis because of the way we handle our waste. So in conventional animal science, we have long operated under a competitive model. What do I mean by competitive model? Where animals, humans, and industry struggle, compete for the very few available feed resources that we have. For example, there's really no animal feed that you don't have to include soybeans, you don't have to include groundnut cake, you don't have to include, you name it, millets, guinea corn, and so on and so forth. So what this study, this inaugural lecture is advocating is the utilization of waste for animals, maybe not to 100%, but to a very large percent, so that the maize, the guinea corn, the millet, the sorghum, all of them can be left for human consumption alone. Allocating 65 to 70% of our grains to livestock is no longer merely expensive. It is ethically and economically unsustainable. By the grace of God, last year, September, I was in Japan for a conference. And one of the keynote speakers is a plant scientist. So he told us how they have been able to, through technology, improve crop production by maybe almost double of what you get per square meter or something. So when it was time to ask questions, I raised my hand and I asked him, I said, sir, since your production has increased, it means your waste too should have increased. So how do you handle your waste? He laughed and he said they don't have waste. So what it means is that, not that they don't have waste, but they know how to channel their waste. So due to all I have said, I have been able to, I was challenged and I said, well, I have to look into the utilization of this waste so as to reduce the cost of production, to mitigate competition between humans and livestock, and to promote environmental steward through waste reduction. So I went into studying about 46 waste materials. Of course, because of time, I'll not be able to go through all, but I'll be talking about some of them in the course of this lecture. So as you can see, those are samples, of the various waste that we have. Yeah. On the, Punch newspaper of April 6, 2026, this is very recent, reported that Nigeria has been named Africa's top food waster with 38 million tons lost. This is a very serious one. This is Punch newspaper, giving us this information. So yes, I'm very happy and glad to let us know that circular economy is not just what I'm talking, it's not just my idea, it's also God's idea. It's in the scripture. It is evident that the principles of circular economy are inherently scriptural, as seen from the gathering of the 12 and the 7 baskets after feeding the 5 and the 4,000 respectively. I'm sure that if Jesus had done that miracle in our days, I'm sure that the leftover would have been left, to waste and cause environmental pollution. But what did he say? He said they should gather so that nothing is lost. That's found in John chapter 6, verse 12. He said, when they were filled, he said unto his disciples, gather up the fragments that remain, that nothing be lost. Then in Mark chapter 8, verses 19 to 21, he said, when I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000, how many baskets full of fragments did you pick up? They said 12. And when I broke the 7 for the 4,000, how many baskets full of fragments did you pick up? They said 7. He said, do you still not get it? Mr. Vice-Chancellor, sir, please allow me to pose the same question to this assembly. Do you still not grasp that resource dismissed as waste should not be discarded so readily? Do we not yet perceive that the circular economy in animal nutrition represents a veritable gold mine for Nigerian agriculture? Is it not clear that the circular economy is the essential path forward for the nation? So we should think about these questions. So I'm very glad, like I said, it's even Jesus that is saying this one, not me. So if you don't obey me, please obey the Lord Jesus, right? How do we optimize these alternative feedstock? What do we do to optimize them? What do we do to make them more useful to our animals? There are a lot of them here, but I won't be able to go into details. But there are some things that we can do that can help nutrient digestibility, that can increase the digestibility of these waste products, that can also improve palatability and also reduce the anti-nutritional factors. I've been able to group them into 4. The first talks about the physical processing method, which includes grinding, pelleting, extrusion, dehydration, mechanical reduction. And the second has to do with the biological and chemical treatment. Talks about fermentation, ensiling, alkali treatment, and detoxification. The fourth has to do with the enzymatic supplementation, and the fourth, the strategic feed management. So figure 2 shows a glass house for effective drying of vegetables, fruits, and waste. This was the structure I used during my PhD research. I worked with cashew pulp. Kogi State, according to Cream, one of their mandate crop is cashew. They said Kogi State is the largest, as at then, I don't know now, largest cashew producing state in Nigeria. So, but the fruit is being left to waste around and cause environmental pollution during the season. You see flies just perching and moving. So I had to go into studying the 2 main varieties, and this was what I used. This glass house is very effective for drying. Okay, so part of my research, just few of them, in order to see how this waste is better utilized. The first I'm projecting is from table 1. What we did was we got bovine rumen content from the abattoir, which is an abattoir waste. We dried it, and we constituted feeds for animals to the tune of 40% inclusion of the abattoir waste. And it's so interesting to know that the rabbits on the 40% of this waste had the best average daily weight gain. And those on 30% had the best feed conversion, feed conversion ratio and feed cost per kg. So as at then, more than 15 years ago, we saved 16 naira 53 kobo on every kg of feed produced. That's at then. Yeah, that was before the current regime, so you know what I'm talking about. So this shows the proximate composition of 2 abattoir waste. The table 1 shows just 1 abattoir waste, but this shows a combination of 2. That's the bovine blood, that's the cattle blood, and the rumen digester. And the combination of these 2 gave us 34.13%. Yes, you agree with me that it's not up to soybean meal, which is 44%, and soybean full fat, which is 41%, and GNC, which is 43%. But it's amazing that the combination of waste, could give up to 34.13%. So what we're saying in NS is, rather than use soybeans and all this, the combination of this waste will be used. And this shows the performance of broilers fed graded levels of the blend of bovine blood and rumen digester. And as you can see, those on 20% recorded the best final, or the highest final body weight and total weight gain and feed conversion ratio, meaning that with little feed, they are able to produce more meat. This shows the vitamin composition of sun-dried cashew pulp, which, like I said, is a waste. And the vitamin C is as high as 30.13 milligram per 100 mil. Yeah, so when my citation was being read, he talked about a feed I compounded, which was 99% waste. And that's the feed you can see here. So rather than use cashew nut, which is very expensive and is in high demand, I use the pulp, which is a waste. So rather than use bambara nut, I use the waste. Rather than use maize offal, I use maize offal. Rather than use rice, I use the offal. Then there's this to waste. So rather than use the sorghum or the millet, and so don't be afraid, your animals will not start behaving like those that take bukutu when they take this. Then rather than use the palm oil, I use the sludge, then cassava peel rather than the cassava. So the only useful thing, or yes, component here that is useful or that's directly connected to the human food chain is salt. And that's what is just 1%. So that's why it's a 99% waste. It gladdens my heart to know that the crude protein of this waste is 16.96%, which is even higher than the energy in millet, the energy in maize, the energy in guinea corn. So what are we waiting for? Is to replace this waste with even the crude protein, the crude protein in maize, in this waste, like I said, is higher than those of millet, guinea corn, and maize. And the energy in this waste, 3,333 kilocalories, is also higher than these other ones that are conventional in nature. This is the amino acid profile. Because of time, I just picked the lysine and the methionine. So you can see that the methionine and lysine of a waste is also higher than some of the conventional feedstuff. I did a comparison between eggshell meal and bone meal. And it was so interesting to know that eggshell meal contains higher percentages of sodium, calcium, and potassium. Of course, phosphorus is almost not there, but at least it's high in these three. So when I made this comparison, that made me to now compound feeds for animals with the bone meal and the eggshell. So what did I do? I tried 4 different treatments. So let me just pick on the last treatment because of time. The treatment 4 contains 0% of bone meal and 3% of eggshell. Surprisingly, the treatment without bone meal, just eggshell to supply calcium and phosphorus, had the best, the pullets on that layer, had the best weight gain, had the best egg number, had the best total egg weight, average egg weight, egg mass, feed conversion ratio, yolk width, albumin. In fact, just all the main parameters were recorded by that same treatment where we didn't even use bone meal at all, because bone meal is conventionally known to supply calcium and phosphorus, but eggshell is a waste. Yeah, so this also shows that where we're able to save 57 naira 50 kobo per 25 kg, and like I said, this is many years ago, because of the inclusion of waste. So for example, where the conventional feedstuff was costing us 1,182 naira 42 kobo, the waste, that contained waste costed 1,124 naira 92 kobo. When I was talking about how we can improve on this waste, one of the things I talked about was ensiling. So this is a practical example of how ensiling of agro byproducts or waste, they can increase the volume, the quantity of the crude protein, the percentage of the crude protein. So originally the percentage was 18.48, but after it was ensiled, it increased to 21.19. That also happened for the crude fiber. It reduced the crude fiber, which is an advantage for the animal, especially the monogastric, and it increased the energy from 2,664 to 2,713. So that's to show that ensiling can help to improve these waste materials. So this table is an advice to as many that have farms or that have animals. So most persons just change feeds abruptly. You just change feed without matching break. Let me use that word. So, but the best way to introduce a new feed to animal is by doing it gradually. So for the first 2 to 3 days, for example, you do 25% of the new feed to 75% of the old. So what this means is, for example, if you have some broilers and maybe you want to change from one right, thank you. So if you want to change, say, from one feed to the other, it's, for example, if you need 4 kg per day, so what it means is you should be doing 1 kg of the new to 3 kg of the old. And for the next 2 to 3 days, you should do 50-50. That's 2 kg, 2 kg, and like that. So the whole idea is you are gradually trying to phase out the old feed. There are many other wastes, but I'll just run over them. Kitchen waste, very important. Even used vegetable oil. I learned there are some houses, I don't know if they still do that anyway, but if they use oil to fry something for 2 times or 3 times, they just discard it. I don't know if that is obtainable under this government. But just in case it's still obtainable under this government, what we're advocating is, after you fry with that, you use that oil to fry 2 to 3 times, don't pour it away. It's a very good feed for animals. In fact, the energy in oil is almost 3 times the energy in maize. So rather than discarding that oil, you can mix it with your animal feed and it's not wasted. Yeah, a combination of medicinal extract and so on and so forth. So Olorun, Tola, et al. 2018 and Inter et al. 2024, they reported that when you use medicinal plants like the bitter leaf, the saint leaf, and so on and so forth, they don't just help the animal medicinally, they also help for better feed efficiency. I'll show you a chicken that I worked on that weighed over 7 kg in this lecture, yes. Okay, so, and it's advisable that whenever you are going to be medicating your animals, whether you are going to be using the orthodox medication or this organic medication, the mistake some persons do is they give them other sources of water before they now give them the medicated water. Of course, if you do that, they are not going to be taking that medicated water. So the best thing which is recommended is you first feed these animals, give them feed, and later place the medicated water. Of course, they will not have any option but to take the medicated water. So this allows for easy accessibility. Okay, so this is a very short video, just 30 seconds. All right. Maybe I will skip. It's not plain, but if you check properly, you see that it's a broiler weighing over 7 kg, and this broiler was fed. Okay. All right. Let me just keep. But it was weighing over 7 kg, and the main what I fed this broiler with, together with others, was mainly waste. There was a time I compounded a 25 kg feed, and out of 25 kg, 11.5 was waste. Yes, and I got this. So just to say that, of course, this is an example of an economic goal, actually. Yes. So there are other ways like dead animals, when you have mortalities, especially when you know that maybe they are not zoonotic, or you can convert them to what we call meat meal, or you can use them to produce maggots. So you produce what we call maggot meal. Yes, there's maggot meal, and it sells very well. Of course, bone, eggshell, insect-infested grains, chopped peels of yam, cassava, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is a low-cost pelletized feed I was able to come up with in 2020. And what led to this production, you can see these are some of the samples here. It was when I interacted with dog breeders, and they told me how expensive the foreign pelleted dog feed was, and why they had resorted to just going to Katako and just do the normal local one. You just mix maize, granules, cake, and all those, and you cook. And they told me, they said, the cooking of this feed is stressful, and they will have to warm the leftover of that feed. So they asked, can I do something that they don't have to cook, that is already pre-cooked and pelleted? So that gave me a challenge, and two other persons that also encouraged me in this line was my former dean, Professor Maza, who was the former dean of Agric. In fact, till today, since 2021 till date, his dogs have been feeding. I'm not advertising, but they've been eating. They've been eating this. So, and the good thing is that this feed, they've been able to close that gap, the expensive foreign feed and the local one you have to cook. So for these ones, you don't have to do the cooking. So this is feed production and mixing ongoing. And the other one, figure 4B, shows when I was drying some waste to be used as a feed. Different locations where field work were carried out. This one shows my 1 week stay in University of Benin for a research work. And this shows myself and one of my PhD students an ongoing work on the ruminant production. So figure 8 is very interesting because my department collaborated with the Department of Civil Engineering. So we got students that were able to design and fabricate 4 biodigesters. This is just one of them. And what did we do? We gathered the farm waste and we digested to produce gas. I'm happy to say that my Oga is here, Dr. Alpha. We did this together, and I think we have 2 very good publications from this right now. So these things are doable. They are not just, we're not just talking about them. Part of the ongoing work is we're trying to construct a locally fabricated and low-cost incubator that will use this normal MBF. We are not even going to be using metal. So that tells you how cheap the incubator will be. We are using wood, and it's going to be independent on electricity. So by the grace of God, when this is done, we'll, together with the information unit, make it public, so that if you're interested, you can come to the Department of Animal Production, and we'll tell you what to do. I'm also part of 2 NRF research grants. One has to do with the development of 3-way composite goat for milk and meat production in different agroecological zones of Nigeria. The principal investigator is at the University of Agriculture, Makurdi. And the second one is developing strategies for cattle ranch establishment in 6 geopolitical zones to end herders farmers clashes. The PI of this is at University of that's UNIZIC. Yeah. I'm also part of this is talking about the ongoing work now. You see, the chicken species of poultry has been overflowed. So everybody is talking about chicken. So there's a book we are putting together. The editor-in-chief is at Northwest University in South Africa, and it's an Elsevier book. So the title is Non-Chicken Poultry Production. So we're looking at other species, guinea fowl, quail, that are gradually going into extinction because only chicken cannot meet this protein need we're talking about. So we need to look at other duck, geese, and so on and so forth. So we're putting up that book. It's a book with 18 chapters. By the grace of God, it should be out before the end of this year. Yes, so God also helping me, I was able to come up with a cough medication. Yes, it's an ongoing work, but this worked for my own goat. Yes, it worked for my own goat. I'll show you the picture of the goat. And the very interesting thing is that I administered this organic cough medication to the goat when it was heavily pregnant. It was already more than 3 months gone. And to the glory of God, on the 13th of March, it kidded 2 kids. Yes. So the other picture is showing me feeding chopped cabbage waste to animals. In conclusion, my Vice-Chancellor, distinguished guests, the gold is all around us. It is in the piles of peels in our homes and at the processing centers. It is in the piles found by the roadside and the various markets. It is in the very fragments we have spent decades trying to hide. As a professor of animal science, by the grace of God, my mission is to ensure that no biological resource goes to waste while a single child in Nigeria suffers from protein, malnutrition, and inadequate food consumption. The transition to a circular economy in Nigeria is not merely a biological challenge, it is a logistical and behavioral one. If we're able to harness this waste and properly utilize, we'll be meeting some of the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, which includes Goal 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 13. At least we would have partly achieved these SDGs. So what are my recommendations? To ensure the turning of these fragments into gold, the following steps are recommended. For individuals, we must become nutrient recyclers. So you must own animals from tomorrow, because you may not be able to go to the market to buy one today. So from tomorrow, you must own animals in your various houses so that you can utilize the waste from your house for the animals. But if you still insist, after I have read what Jesus said too, and you don't want to obey the circular economy, you can gather those waste and you can give to your neighbors. I have very good neighbors. I'll not mention they are here. They don't have animals, but they'll gather their waste and they'll bring for my animals. Yes, so it's not wasted. That's the essence. They don't just go and pour it away, but so as individuals, we should be system thinkers, environmental stewards, policy advisors, and innovation drivers. For the Department of Animal Production and the University of Jos and colleges and universities of agriculture, we must lead in research, extension, and curriculum reform. The University of Jos can construct, my Vice-Chancellor, sir, ably represented, we can construct that glass house in figure 2. We can construct it. We can form a committee that can get some of this waste. That's food-related waste now. I'm happy you said, I think either last week the VC, commissioned some. Yes, so at that point of the students going to pour the waste, the food-related waste can be separated and properly dried. We can go to some of these neighboring markets, Ferengada and the rest, gather this waste. So all this is to be done with the aim of producing University of Jos commercial feed. Department of Animal Production can do it. If as an individual, with my small, meager salary, I can produce this, University of Jos can do this again and again with collaboration with the Department of Animal Production and possibly the Center of Excellence. So by the time 30% of this waste is being incorporated, at least 30%, we can even go up to 50%, but by the time 30% of this waste is incorporated into this feed, we'll be saving a whole lot of cost. The University of Jos Central Laboratory under construction should be equipped with testing equipment such as infrared proximate analyzer, amino acid analyzer, and so on and so forth. And as a university, sir, my Vice-Chancellor represented, we can collaborate with NASCO, Standard Biscuit, and all these. They have waste. So we can collaborate with them. They'll be very happy. For example, if a letter moves from the VC's office to them saying that we want to help you properly harness your waste, I'm sure they'll be very happy to collaborate with us. For the government, national secular policy, and so on. I don't want to go through this one because we don't have government people here, but well, this recommendation is for government. Yeah, so construction of quality control laboratories. Okay, yes, we have the representative of the commissioner of commissioner, sir. Yes, please help us take this to the commissioner and maybe it gets to the governor. So there are many things we can do. We can construct quality control laboratories for training of personnel, and training of personnel in all the geopolitical zones. We can decentralize processing hubs by bringing the technology to the farm gate. So there can be this policy that will say that for every feed that is being produced, maybe a particular bag, 20-30% should be from waste or alternative ingredients. And also to ensure quality standardization by ensuring that waste-driven feed meets the rigorous safety standard required for animal health and human consumption. On a final note, my Vice-Chancellor, invited guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, in economic terms, circular economy ensures that value addition replaces value destruction. In every waste lies potential energy and economic gold. In every food-related waste lie protein, carbohydrate, lipid, mineral, vitamin, and other nutrients which await recovery. In every heap of organic refuse lie several economic opportunities. Nigeria's circular economic engine can convert these fragments into gold, whether nutritional, environmental, or economical. And the good thing is, the science exists, the waste exists, the need exists. What we cannot be too sure is whether our collective will exist. There is moral urgency in reducing waste while millions of humans experience protein deficiency. Sustainability is not solely economic, it is intergenerational justice. To waste nutrients is to waste opportunity. So let's stop wasting opportunities, including those lives that God brings our way through the students and even colleagues. Let's stop wasting opportunities. Do everything possible to conserve all that should have been wasted. Say no to all forms of wastages. Thank you so much for your presence and attention. So please permit me to quickly go through my acknowledgements. I will try to be very brief. First and foremost, I'd like to acknowledge God Almighty for doing this for me, for making this possible. I'm so grateful to God. I also want to appreciate my parents, Elder and Deaconess Uchele Okpanachi. I'm sure they are watching online. I want to thank my siblings. One of my siblings, my elder brother, had to come all the way to represent the family. Thank you for coming, sir. Where is he? Okay, all right. Thank you for coming. That's Uchele Okpanachi. I'd like to appreciate all my siblings. I also want to appreciate my in-laws. Yes, they would have been here, but because of some other issues, they were not able to make. So I'd like to appreciate them for all that, for giving me their daughter. Yes, that's a very good, because God has used their daughter to actually help my life in so many. Yes, you can say and say it again. Yes, so I like to appreciate my in-laws. I like to also appreciate my lovely wife. Yes, so I call her my treasure. I call her my Lolo. So she stood by me, and she's still standing by me. This is almost 15 years now, standing by me. Thank you, Mom. Thank you. Yes. I also want to appreciate my children, Josephine, Uchele Okpanachi, Timothy, Ojomdejo Okpanachi, and Joanna Uredojo Okpanachi, and all, my family members that are here. I want to appreciate all my teachers at all levels, primary, secondary, and at tertiary level, for all that they have done that has brought me to where I am now. I want to appreciate my supervisors, Dr. J.Y. Odiba, of blessed memory. He was my undergraduate supervisor. May his soul rest in peace. I want to also appreciate Professor G.C. Okeke, my MSc supervisor, who is still alive and fine. I'm sure he's also watching online. I want to appreciate Professor J.A. Ayuade, of blessed memory too, my PhD supervisor. May his soul rest in peace, for all that they did to bring me up to where I am right now. And also Professor C.D. Tullion, co-supervisor, Professor S. Atta. 3 professors actually supervised my PhD. And to Associate Professor S.S. Adiola of the Federal University, Dusema, that encouraged me and told me that it was possible to succeed. To all my classmates, primary, secondary, and university mates, I want to thank them. I want to especially thank Professor S.S. Bemako, because it was under his tenure I was employed a lecturer in this university. I also want to appreciate sincerely Professor Ishaya Tanko, my current Vice-Chancellor, because it was under his tenure I was pronounced a professor 1st October 2024, and he also gave his approval for this inaugural lecture to hold. I want to appreciate Professor PC. Okay, sorry. Okay, so I want to appreciate Professor PC Onche, the DVC administration, and the chairman of Senate Inaugural Valedictory Lecture Committee. I want to appreciate all other principal officers that were not able to make it. I sincerely want to appreciate my dean, Professor P.V. Kwage. I also want to appreciate the director of the center, Professor Bauer, and all head of departments of the Faculty of Agriculture and staff, including the ex-students and the current students, undergraduate and postgraduate students. You are well appreciated. I also want to appreciate those of my former university, Kogi State University, where I started as a graduate assistant. I want to appreciate Professor F.S. Dachaba of blessed memory, may his soul also rest in peace, who believed in me and employed me as a graduate assistant in 2007. I want to appreciate Professor Jube, the current ASU chair, and Professor Daspan. In fact, these two encouraged me to do what I'm doing right now. So Professor Jube called to say that he's in Abuja for council workshop, but Professor Daspan is here. Thank you very much for encouraging me to do this. I want to also appreciate Mr. Emmanuel Madugu and all the staff of the information unit. They've been so wonderful. I want to appreciate those in the library, and those in the printing press. I want to appreciate Dr. J.O. Ibibi and Dr. Idachaba, who went through my manuscript to make sure that, of course, not error-free, but maybe near error-free. I want to appreciate, Professor Amaza, already appreciated him, and Barrister Theophilus, and those that encouraged me to go this way of this feed production. I appreciate Professor Hassan Achimugu, my discipler, and Evangelist Okumbo Salami, the chaplain of Chapel of Restoration, Kogi State University. I want to appreciate the brethren there, Chapel of Restoration, NIFES, KSU, NIFES, UniJos, NIFES National. I want to also appreciate the chaplain of the Chapel of Faith here, with all the board of elders for their support, prayers, and all that they have been doing. I want to appreciate Mr. George Floem, the chairman of Floem Pharmaceutical and Chemicals. He would have been here. In fact, 2 staff of this organization should have been here, but they were not able to hear, but they brought some materials for those those associations that are here, the Pig Farmer Association, Poultry, and so on and so forth. So if you wait after this lecture, I'll be giving you the materials from this establishment. That's those farmers. I also want to appreciate Diamond Dreams for helping to decorate this place. Thank you very much. I appreciate the GM and staff of UCL. Thank you for all your support. And for all my invited guests, too numerous to mention, I really want to appreciate you. I cannot forget the Igala Unity Forum, Jos, where they are well represented here. Thank you very much for coming. And to SUG, thank you, thank you, thank you. And to all that, have done one thing or the other. You know, it's in a time like this, you will know that some persons actually are mindful of you. God putting in their hearts to do some, when they say send your account number, it's very good, right? So all those persons that I may not be able to mention because of time, thank you very, very much, and God bless you. Thank you.